How is all? I'm back. It's an epic voyage 13, and I took a bit of a break the last few days, but it's good to be back. I hope you're all keeping well. I'm just feeling a bit groggy. I woke up early and then I went back to bed again, and those kind of things. But I'm okay. I'm in good form. I've always been talking about that the answer to this is not, running for election, taking on the government, taking on the Illuminati, confronting them, taking them on the courts and all this. My attitude has always been along is to create a parallel culture. And this parallel culture will make the control system, the control grid, obsolete just by sheer fact that the parallel culture has nothing to do with it. It's almost like if you have, it's almost like if you have a job you hate, and then you get a job that you like, or you start a business on the side, a small one, slowly build it up. As the job that you hate suddenly loses its importance, as the new project gathers the momentum, and then you jump ship. Well, that's how I feel about the control system. Is that the best way to deal with it is to have a parallel culture, and the parallel culture does not directly confront the prevailing, control grid. It simply operates as if it doesn't need it. In the shadows, piecemeal, bit by bit, until the prevailing culture is irrelevant. And that to me is the ultimate insurgency, because there's nothing that the control grid can do about it. Now I'll give you an example of it. They had that children's rights anti-pedophilia march in Dublin a few weeks ago, and you had all the people there, and they're all protesting and saying, "What about our kids?" and all this kind of stuff. And good luck to them. They were very right to do that. They were immediately savaged in the Irish media as being homophobic, which it wasn't about homophobia at all. Homophobic alt-right Nazis. They were immediately savaged, and it's been going on ever since. Now there's been all kinds of the disruption in that thing, and some of the people who made the most impassioned speeches on that stage have now jumped ship and gone with the government. Because it's easy to be a hard man or a big man when you have an audience and you're an actor, but when you're off the stage and the lights are off, the spotlight's off you, and the fear starts to generate, that you turn around and you have second doubts, and that's why you can't confront them directly. They will always call you names. They will always find the weak spots. They will always assassinate the ones that they're doing you the most, who look like the leaders, in one way or another. They'll compromise and so on. Now I'll give you an example of what I saw today that really gave me hope. As you know, many of you, that Jack Charlton, the famous Leeds in England player and the legendary Republic of Ireland soccer manager, he's died, and his funeral was today, and there were spontaneous gatherings of people in his hometown in Northumberland in England. There were thousands of people lining the streets to clap the cortege and send him off on his way. In Dublin, at the Walkinstown roundabout, which was kind of like a traditional meeting spot in West Dublin for soccer supporters, they filled the roundabout with thousands of people singing and chanting at it, just give him a send off. And also in Ballina in County Mayo, where he used to have a house and used to go fishing, salmon fishing. At all these events, which I've watched now, almost no one was wearing a mask or practicing social distancing. There was no way in hell, no civil servant, politician, or bureaucrat, or worst of all, some spineless maggot on the spineless, condescending, patronising, judgmental, mask fetish type on the internet, was going to stop these people from indulging in what made them feel good. And that was what was a touchstone to what's good about the world. In the north of England, it was one of their local lads had become a legend in soccer. So it was about community. It was about tribe. It was about family. It was about the town, the working class people of this town in the north of England, coming together to celebrate one of their own who did good and give him a grand send-off. I didn't see one mask in all the videos and photographs I saw. Same thing at the Walkinstown roundabout in Dublin. Thousands of ordinary working class and lower middle class Dublin people spontaneously dancing and clapping in the streets to give this man a send off. I counted 2 masks out of probably 1,000 people. There wasn't even 1% were wearing masks. All arms around each other singing and dancing. And no bureaucrat, no politician was going to stop that. And likewise in Ballina, they'll be doing the same. Because in the middle of this COVID crisis, the death of Jack Charlton made people realize what's beautiful about this life. And what's beautiful about this life is the simple things that make you happy and bond you with your own tribe. And that's what's happening right now in the north of England and in parts of Ireland today. And that's what really gives me hope, because that was a parallel culture. With all the Gestapo, all the masked Gestapo and PPP Stasis on the internet saying, wear your mask, you're killing my grandparents. There was tons of elderly people on the streets in England and Ireland today singing and dancing and clapping for a man. And they don't give a shit about coronavirus, lockdowns, masks, or anything else, because they've remembered the value of life. And this is what the control system seeks to do. It seeks to remove the value of simple things and overcomplicate life in a miasma of bureaucratic maelstroms and bedlams that you have to work your way through in order to exist. Because they don't want you living, the control system wants you existing. And that's 2 very different things. And if you've gone through a stage in your life where you've lived or been around people who made you feel alive, you are very aware of the times when you are merely existing. Because when you're merely existing and you have a fleeting glimpse of the good old days, when times were good, when things were fun, you are suddenly reinvigorated with this nostalgic sense of happiness. And that's because you've remembered what it was to live while you were existing. Now, I was on Gareth Davis's show the other day, podcast the other day with Niall Murphy and Ben, and I put the video here on this channel so you could see it, but Garrett found a video of Trump in 2015 saying that Epstein's Island was a cesspool and Hillary Clinton can't run for president because she'll have a real problem dealing with him and her connection to him. Now, that was 2015, before Hillary Clinton had even run for office, for the president, or was only on the start of it. And here he was saying our biggest problem would be Epstein. Now I posted that clip yesterday, and there's some people on there, and they're right to have their opinion, saying Trump is on the inside, he's helping them, he's COINTELPRO. And see, this is the problem with people like yourselves, is that you have built up the control structure, these psychopaths at the top, into being infallible gods that have absolute power and will never be toppled, except by revolution or something, which is what they want, not what will work. Remember that revolution means bring you right back to where you started. And it's look, you've been listening too much to people like David Icke, who has you believing there's some kind of reptilian space gods. They're not. They're scumbags. They're psychopaths, right? The best way I could describe them would be like the Chicago Mafia in the 1930s, Al Capone and all that crowd, right? They were absolutely infallible in Chicago. All it took was some untouchables to go in there from the FBI and to take them down, which they did successfully. Through numerous things, going through their bank accounts and having to kill them if they had to. And that's what's happening now with Trump. Trump is like the Elliot Ness of the federal government. He is draining the swamp through using his personality, his force of personality, and he's gathered around him a team that can help. Yes, he's dealing with legacies that are there, like Fauci and all the rest of them, okay? But that's not his fault. What he has achieved is spectacular and remarkable. This is what I find amazing. You know, all you types are all saying, who's going to take on the Illuminati, we're going to call it. There's no such thing as the Illuminati anyway. Who's going to take on the New World Order? Well, Trump comes along and you don't believe him. Oh, he's Contel. Because you've been so programmed. And Ben brought this up too on his show. Now, I'm not saying you should throw all your eggs into his basket and suddenly follow him like a messiah figure. But when hope happens, embrace it. When positive things happen, embrace it. Don't go, oh, great, but we still have this or we still have that. You know, that's not how you live. That's existing, not living. Live, don't exist, okay? And so that's what's wrong with you guys. Sit back and let things happen. What's already happened is remarkable. How can you honestly say that Trump is one of them when the mainstream media has gone absolutely psychotic trying to destroy him? And the establishment has gone bananas. And why would they want to destroy themselves trying to destroy him? Why would they want to do that? That makes no sense. He is the real thing. And how has he not been assassinated? Oh, that's easy. The military. Watch that video of him being inaugurated. Watch it. At one point, service people from the 4 branches of the US military stand behind him, as if to say, we got his back. You're not doing another Kennedy. And that sent out a terrifying message to the control structure. You can sit there saying, oh, but the army they all work for the New World Order. No, they don't. Anyone who says that knows nothing about how the military works. The military serves their leadership. Their leadership is the President of the United States and the Constitution of the United States, right? So whoever holds that office is the boss. That's the end of it, okay? Secondly, that's also assuming that, like, military people, you got the Henry Kissinger mentality, that they're all mindless robots. Military people are just like you and me. They just have a very specific and very different kind of job, but they're still human beings. Even that if you look at someone like, you read the biographies of generals, and I have, because I'm interested in that stuff, you're struck by how compassionate and good many of these people are, and how when they're even things like D-Day, that was designed to reduce the number of casualties, and even then they were shocked by what happened at Omaha Beach. That's why they landed in Normandy. Not, they could have easily landed at Dieppe like Mountbatten did, a psychopathic royal, right? And just plough troops onto the beach non-stop at Dieppe or Calais or someone right across the English Channel, and put tens, hundreds of thousands into a meat grinder until they eventually made a beachhead of dead Allied troops. But that was how the Soviets fought the Germans. But that wasn't how the Allies were going to fight the Germans, because the Soviets, being the biggest robot psychopaths of all, not the Russian people, the leadership. So you seem to think that everything has to be done like that. You see this whole thing. You've been listening to people like David Icke saying things. If we move away from the bottom of the pyramid will collapse. No, it won't. It doesn't work like that. The best way of all is the parallel culture. That's why I'm a pagan. It's parallel to the controlling system that's monotheistic. As well as I also believe this stuff. But the parallel thinking is what detaches you and uncouples you from being, if you pull away from the bottom of the pyramid, you're still at the bottom of the pyramid, aren't you? You're not at the top of the pyramid, you're at the bottom of the pyramid. You're still there. But what you do is you create a pyramid of your own on the side when they're not looking. And you're on the top and you build from the bottom down. Now you remember that. You remember. And don't expect everything to be flicked on like a switch overnight and be perfect. Now, these things take long times. But every little victory it reminds you that what it is to live and not to exist. Like I saw those celebrations for Jack Charlton today. Old people, kids, middle-aged people, men, women, all close together, all in the tribe, all singing and dancing. Not a face mask, hardly a face mask in sight. All that I wanted to talk to the manager cultures types. They were not to be seen. They would have been driven out of town with a pitchfork. And that shows you that when people remember who the tribe is, that is what terrifies the control system. And they quickly forget about being punished for not wearing a mask or being punished for not socially distancing. Because what they discovered is what it is to be alive and not to merely exist, because politicians merely exist, bureaucrats merely exist, civil servants merely exist, mainstream journalists merely exist. And when you hear people say things like, I used to be like this and then I woke up, I discovered that the world was a big scam and I woke up. Well, you know what really happened then? You stopped existing and you started living. Take care.